Hello everyone. A little bit of a funky stream start today. Discovered audio sync issues like 2 minutes before we started, and I for sure have not touched it since last week, so I do not understand why that keeps changing from week to week. Beats me. Hopefully it's in sync now. Since it's changing randomly, I can't really tell, but I think it should be fine. That looks to be cool. So I suppose we're ready to go. Just gonna make sure I got everything up and running here. That's all good. Who is around? Yeah, this is looking good. Twitch still thinks I'm offline, which is not true, but I think they will see the error of their ways in due time. That looks very nice. Got so many screens now. My poor desk is buckling under the weight. Suppose that's kind of a good arrangement. What is going on here with my technology? That thing does say that I'm live, so that's good. Yeah, I think that's all well and good. I got so much stuff on my desk, so I gotta kind of look around it to get things, to see things. You don't need to see those. Okay, game dev stream time again. We did a bunch of stuff last week. I suppose we'll do the normal little review of what we did last week before we get started with this week. So last week was the 5th of March. Should be these commits. So we made the asteroid slider. I actually cheated and did that before starting the stream, 30 minutes before, because I'm a dirty cheater. Yes, the big thing is that we started on improving the asteroid spawning. So this is probably just me moving stuff around to have it be more practical to change things later. And then we started messing with the way the actual spawning works. Yeah, this commit has multiple files too. So that the asteroid spawner is the new class we added. And then we started on, I don't know why I committed that, but that's okay, I guess. Then we started making the asteroid spawning a lot better. It took quite some time. We did this for like an hour and 15 minutes. And we only got to actually replacing the generation of the asteroids, not the asteroid cores, which is like, it's probably more than half of like the subsystem that is the asteroid spawning. We'll take a look at this. Plug in my controller so I can play. Hello, Tampert and Blood Beret. Welcome to the stream. Hanging out in the chat. This means, this like bundled up cable means that I was totally prepared for this. USB plug-in sound. Here we go. That means things are working. So we'll run this. Take a look. How's the new office? Managed to put those bars up yet? Yes. And new office is nice. It's cool having a place that is not your home to work from. I can see why people do that. So if we move this a little bit, you guys can see better. So one thing you'll notice is that these asteroids are now, let's say we start here. So it's a big asteroid, slightly smaller, 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 big, smaller, 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 big, smaller, 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 big. 4 kind of chunks of asteroid, which is when they spawn like this. Hello, the pre-Deeger. Welcome to the stream. I was going to say something before I got very confused. Yeah, it looks rather... You can really see the way they spawn when they spawn like this, but as soon as they get to spread out a little bit, it's perfectly fine, and it's actually a more fair distribution having it this way. One thing that you'll also notice is that the core size is pretty much, it's not fixed across asteroids, but there's no real method to that right now. It's just random per asteroid. And I think I broke it a little bit last week. It's not doing it's not the way I want it to be. Let's just say it that way. Hello, Rocky Fell. Or Rocky Fella. I don't know. Welcome to the chat. You as well. But that's what we did last week. And I mean, these bits all work the same way they've always done. You can cut the asteroids. And as of last week, the asteroids are a lot lighter, so you can shuck them around a little bit more readily. So that kind of move I just did there is now possible. You'll also notice that if I let go of the stick, I don't know if you can see, but there's a tiny little like engine thing, like a little triangle behind me, a white triangle. That shows you when my engine is actually running. So it's, it will, the wormhole will suck me in if I'm too close. That's also probably something we should add to the to-do list. Make ships face the way the engine is powering them, not the direction of motion, because that makes more sense. Because right now it would just faces the direction it's moving, so meaning it does this little, like, it looks like it's turning in towards the black hole, which it's, I mean, its velocity is doing that, but the ship itself isn't, so that kind of makes it weird. We got more people in the chat. We got T-Kill and Arc Games, also welcome. Look at this free money. It's the office doorbell. Someone's visiting us. Who could it be? So that's kind of cool. A strange man just walked in the door. Shuck this in the pit of despair. Jane's Divvy says hi in the chat. That's nice. Arc Games is asking if I've seen the Game Loading movie yet. No, I haven't. I saw some kind of preview a little while ago, but that was basically an extended trailer, and that's all I've seen. So I don't know. I don't know what's up with that. I do want to see it though. Now this guy works. Like the final thing I noted last week was player in the lower left has their score not resized properly when they win. Is that so? because this is the lower right, and I'm pretty sure that's what I meant, but... So that's upper left, that's upper right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was just talking crazy talk when I wrote that. Okay. Suppose it's the core generation. That's going to be our thing today. I don't really feel like working on that, but I also feel like it's something I should finish what I started. Asteroid Spawner. Blah, blah, blah. Asteroid core. Yeah, so that code is still in the core. Meaning it's this little guy right here. And we did in the asteroid spawner, we did start with the core radius thing. So we can use that. So spawn level, blah, 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 spawn. Where is it actually using this? Here. So it is sending that along to asteroid generate, core radius. The core gets that into generate. So that's that. I'm wondering if we should send along more stuff. Blood Beret is saying, wasn't that bug with a high score appearing when the game was finished or entering the black hole? No, it was actually the scaling thing that happens at the end was just the centering was off. So it was scaling up correctly, but it wasn't compensating by moving itself. So it just scaled itself off screen. It might also have been, we'll look at that later. So what I'm doing right now is that I'm keeping track of a bunch of different sizes for the cores, which I'm passing along to the core generation. So it's got core radius. I suppose we'll give it the asteroid radius as well, because that's going to be more reliable. As to what size we intended the asteroid to be, because that sometimes isn't quite the radius it generates. Oracle just followed me on Twitch. That's nice. Thank you. It's funny how much of this code I rewrote this last week because I didn't think it made any sense. Now I feels like I'm back again at with the same feeling. Asteroid core radius. Does this thing even work anymore? That's a good thing. Just try and find out. Asteroid spawner. Yeah, core radius, core deck radius, deck count. No, it's between 0.5. Okay. So what do we have in here for core? Not very much. Core account. Is this in use? No. Is this in use? I don't know why I'm not just commenting them all out. Mad Triangle, you bought Rim Capsule. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And you have it for Steam and Android. Very nice. Is this also something I'm using? I don't think I am. I was. Oh, it's that kind of lightness. Okay. Someone's talking to me on my phone. Apparently my channel is running ads and they were like a notch party with lots of dubstep. That's probably a good thing, I think. Core purity multiplier is not a thing anymore. What did I do now? This line of code needs to stay. Suppose it goes kind of there. Who's that? Stibbins. Welcome. What did you do, Sven? Explain yourself. Did you make the dubstep happen? I didn't know you had that kind of power. I didn't know I had that kind of power to just like summon dubstep on will. Did you notice how I nicely cut that asteroid and then just abandoned it for one that was right next to it and a lot better? So I don't know, this is not particularly interesting, I don't think. No, I can't escape. So I suppose I need to think about how I want the spawning to work. Because right now it is random, just randomly picking sizes. This is not awful. This is kind of good, but there's almost no reason to go after an asteroid like this one when you can get better ones. So I suppose I need to make sure that they're, because I do want some that are like, okay, this is the one to get, like some that are obviously more valuable. Which is, I mean, something you want. You wouldn't be like, oh my god, there's the big bad one, let's go get that one, and everybody just jumps on it. That's something you want. That's something I want anyway. And I suppose I also want some asteroids that are like filler. But it does look kind of boring when the cores are kind of the same size, all of them. The more I think about it, the more this is actually kind of good. I might just keep it this way for now. want to take a look at how it works exactly. So right now it's not taking the size of the asteroid into account at all. Yes, it is. No, it's not. It's just doing the asteroid radius thing, which I suppose is fair. I can't really make up my mind. Those are not used. One thing we are going to do for sure is add constants in for the these values. So this is going to be asteroid core size base and asteroid core size variance. This is 0.5 and this is 0.5, which doesn't make a ton of sense. So I'm suspecting I am multiplying this up with something somewhere. No. Interesting. Okay, that probably means that this is in physics space and these measurements are in screen space, which is not any kind of best practice, but that's the way it works. Blood Beret is asking something. Might be a space station outside the black hole that you respond to. Okay. Why? What purpose would a space station fulfill, other than maybe being a space to respawn? Yeah, I kind of like these core sizes because they're sort of evenly spread. And there are some of them that are like, okay, this is like low effort asteroid. And some of them are more high value. That was close. That was really close. And I suppose also that, like, as a round goes on, the low-hanging fruit, as it were, will get picked off by everyone. So I don't want to do that. Can I? Let's see if I can pull this off. I don't want to drill this asteroid. That didn't go at all as I wanted it to. Yeah, I'm actually happy with the way the cores work right now, which is funny because last week I wasn't, but that's game dev for you. Mikey Bo is saying a space station would be a good place to buy upgrades for your money. I'm not making upgrades. I'm sorry, it's not happening. It's too damn much work. Asteroid core spawning is actually good. That's a pretty awful message, but you get what you pay for, I suppose. done spawn super asteroids every now and then that are way bigger and more valuable. Well, this is interesting. I want to think about that some, because one thing we were talking about last week was having asteroids with like funky shapes for the stuff that's inside, which would require a different way of rendering them and a different way of calculating their value. But other than that, it shouldn't be hugely problematic to do different funky shapes. Zoomp 187, hello. Don't forget to follow on Twitch so you can get more of this stuff. So we'll try a different way of rendering the cores. That seems like fun. So we got asteroid, we got the core rendering grep here. So this is what does the rendering right now. Just disable that and we'll re-enable. This used to be the debug code for this. See what that looks like. Alex, hello. Cold MSR. Cold MSR. Thanks for following. This gives us little black dots in our asteroids. Zoomp, thanks for following. It's nice when people do what you tell them to. I appreciate that. This is pretty cool. Oh, hey, Mikey Bo again. Thanks. So I was thinking we're going to do little green sort of shard things for these. So we shall do. Let's just keep this for now, in case we want to go back and debug what we're doing. So we're going to render them the same color as before. And we're going to do the transform vertex thing still to get the point. But instead of drawing a circle, we're going to draw, I don't know how we're going to draw. I suppose we could just draw like a randomly offset square kind of thing, or a triangle or a pentagon or something. Let's try triangles first. So I got this, the point P is like our center. So then we'll do 4 I in 0 up until, let's say 3. We can do question is how we're going to offset this. Let's do it this way. We want to keep our point, so we'll do one called random, which is point, and the point class in OpenFL and Flash, for that matter, has this static function called polar, which is great for making like a random point. So you just give it a length that could be math random times 3, and you give it an angle that's going to be math random times math pi times 2. So that's a full circle. So this will give us a random point within. Coldemzar is suggesting to give the asteroids googly eyes, which is not a bad idea. So this thing right here, I just define a circle like this, where P, like our original point, would be this point right here. And I say for a range of, I'm picking a random size here. So anywhere from like 0 to 3, which happens to be the radius, pick a random direction within this circle. And depending on the radius I picked, it's going to be anywhere within this range, saying this is, saying in here is 0 and out here is 3. Which is going to give us like a nice random distribution. Then we go, let's do this. So the graphics thing works like this. So for the like, if you want to start drawing a polygon, you're going to use the move to, and then you can use line 2 to like keep that, like you lift the pen and you move it with move 2, and with line 2 you actually draw. So for the first call in this thing, we got to do a move 2. So I'm checking if I is 0, and then we do a move 2 to px plus rndx, py plus rdy. And if it's not the first one, we want to do a line 2. We're just going to slightly repeat ourselves here, but that's fine. I suppose we'll put this begin fill in here instead. Don't need that. Put this, we don't really need that either, but just keep it anyway. Actually, no, that goes here, and that does go here. A lot of new lines lying around. Maybe a little bit small. What am I doing wrong? Oh, it's using a different... Whatever. Can't remember how this works, but this seems to be the way to do it. Mad Triangle is asking how I make graphics in my game. Do I code them or Photoshop? Most of it for this game is generative, like the asteroids are all generated, the star fields generated. This text right here, obviously not generated. This thing also generated, but I do draw them beforehand in like Illustrator or Photoshop or something, just to get like, figure out what I want, and then I transform it into code. So this ended up being way too small. So I want to add like a, because right now, this these little triangles I'm making, they can be like, boop, 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 or that, which is like the maximum size. So I suppose I'd want to make them be like outside this radius or whatever. So they never are smaller than set size. So we'll just make them at the very least 3. And then we'll see. It still has some issues because it might overlap itself and stuff, but we'll... I don't think 3 corners are quite enough. How about... So we'll do this, and for the angle, we'll do I through num points. This will give them an even distribution instead, like circular, but different ranges out from the center. It's something. So now you can see they're all facing like the same direction. It's like these little triangles are pointing this way. These are all pointing that way, which is not something we want. So we'll do a rotation offset, which is going to be math random times times math pi times 2. So we'll do that. That means all of them are going to be facing a specific random direction, which I'm not quite sure I want, because that's going to look exactly the same. So we'll do it in here instead. So that means every separate particle is going to face a different direction. I think that's an improvement over before. I'm not sure it's looking better than the original. I'm going to try it with 5 points instead, even though hexagons are clearly superior. Do I have any education within this, or am I self-taught? I am both. I do have a game design degree, but I actually would say that I taught myself to program almost entirely. So this is, I think they're gonna have to have like different shades or something different going on with them, because this just looks really busy. I suppose I could also make them just bigger, make sure they overlap. One thing I could do that I just realized is see if we can pull this off. Color converter into HSL. Okay, hang on. I'm going to do a color core. This will give us the color in with hue, saturation, lightness, and then we can go HSL L times equal it's a little bit funny that we're doing this here, that the core is not rendering itself, but that will be fine. Let's just do it this way for now. So we'll do I want to make them progressively darker as we get towards the edge. And then we do color converter HSL to int. Alex is asking, what am I doing and what are the little triangles used for? These represent the like the resources you want to extract. So before they were rendered just as like a plain polygon. Now I want to toy a little bit with having them look more interesting, I suppose. I don't know what this is obviously kind of cool, but also not the way I want it to look. So one thing that happens now is that every time the asteroid re-renders, it changes. Can you see that? It's just subtly different. I do like the gravity on the black hole. I don't know if you can see me like fighting to avoid it, but this is like one of the things that made me want to do this change, the way that they stick out on the side a little bit. So this, the way I'm doing this is obviously a little bit too much, a little bit too like powerful. So what if we do 0.8 plus this times 0.2, that will give it a slightly more subtle gradient. And I also think it should go the other way. They should be brighter at the center and darker at the edges. We'll do that. A little math. It's always good for us. Oh, right. So now it should just be that. Yeah. I don't know. Looks a little bit too much like a gradient for my tastes. Suppose I could make it be like a distinct step thing. This is just completely overgrown. And now the sound isn't working. That's funny. I don't know. I can't decide if this is better or not. I suppose it does look a little bit more fancy, but you can also kind of tell that it's all just particles, which makes my little tech heart hurt a little bit, because I did like the cleanness of the polygons. But on the other hand, I suppose I could do the same thing to the asteroids, make them like break them up a little bit. Damn it. What if a player would just put all the asteroids into the hole without slicing? How big you can get a really negative score, because the pink is worth, like the pink will give you a negative score. So even though this core here is probably worth like 500,000, the pink stuff is worth negative. So you just get 0 points. I want to try doing the same thing along the edges of the asteroids, because I think that might look cool. There's going to be ass load of polygons, but I think that should be fine. It's not going to run on mobile or anything anyway, and they're not going to be changing all that much either, so it should be fine. Either way, it'd be just a fun thing to try. I don't know if this random sizing thing is doing it at all. Maybe I should just do a fixed size. And maybe I want to get rid of this random thing here. If I do that, it will be the same. I'll probably do count times pi. Unexpected comma. I agree. That was unexpected. So yeah, they definitely need to be big enough that they overlap. So in a radius of 4 isn't doing it. 6 is quite a bit bigger. What about 5? Five's just too small, like 5.3. That's gonna do it. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm still not, oh, I forgot. I'm gonna try, I don't think I have any random calls in here right now. Meaning that I should be able to make them re-render and it won't actually change them. We'll change them if I cut them, but you can't really see that. No! Let me go. You there. Come with me. $86,000 points. Okay, let's get rid of that. I'm just gonna clean this up because there's gonna be a lot more code where this came from. But that's cool. Let's temporarily commit this before even deciding if we want to do this. Experimenting with new style for asteroid rendering. And we can always revert that commit later if we decide it's not good. So I have this draw outline function. So what we're going to need to do now, so the code I have from before is, it has these vertices for the asteroid that are like vertex, 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 vertex. Let's put one here too for good measure. And then it's going around this. Can't remember if it's clockwise or counterclockwise, going line, 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 and then that will make a polygon. That's all dealt with behind the scenes. I don't have to care about that. That will make a filled polygon that is my asteroid, which is cool. So what I want to do now is between all of these, like for every point here, I want to go and figure out using the brush, like for between this point and this point, I'm going to go like, okay, the distance is this and this big. I want to place a point every, let's say this is total 10 units. And I want to place a point every 1 unit. I want to divide this up into 5 equally spaced, or to 10 equally spaced points, and place a little tiny piece of graphic on every point. There are multiple ways of doing this, but this is one of the ways I could do it. I could also like split this line up and just have it be ragged like that, but I do think putting these on top, so I'll do the same thing as I did with the core. So I'll put a little block here and a little block here, all the way along the edge to make it look cool. So that's what we'll do. So it goes draw outline and ends the fill, and just save that for now. Who subscribed? Darker Assassin. Welcome. So we'll transform the vertex just as before. Now, this is going to be like, this is going to be very similar to this. So I don't know if we want to. Actually, no, in many ways it's not going to be very similar. So we'll just just duplicate this for now. Oh, we do have the color already, so that's cool. So we don't need, yeah, we need old v, which is going to be vertices. What is that? A b2 vector? Probably, yeah. Whoops. Take me back. So we go. So like for the first vertex, we can't do very much because we want to. Actually, this vertices. What are you? Is that an array? It is an array. That's good. That means we can do what I wanted to do. So instead of doing this kind of loop, we'll just do a different kind of loop. So we'll go for I in 0. Actually, no, let's do 1 up until vertices length. And then we'll do points. Suppose we'll do that. Start. This is all going to be horrendously broken, I suppose, but we'll see. We've got an end. We don't want to expand. What's the center for? Is that something we need? I think we can just keep it that way and it'll be fine. Does this compile at all? Oh, right. That's not the way that function works. So it's going to be start p0 clone. This is a little bit cumbersome, but we'll make do. We'll see if this runs at all. This won't render not anything other than all the stuff that was rendering before, obviously. But so far, so good. And then I suppose we'll do distance, which is going to be start between start and end. And we'll just trace this to see that something's happening. There's going to be a lot of traces. Oh, so that's a point. I see. I totally didn't type pint there. Absolutely not. Okay, so that's tracing 0 an awful lot of times, which is maybe not super good. Oh, it's because I'm using the same vertex. Here we go. Look at these numbers. Can you guys see those? You can see all of them. Just do this. Look at all these numbers down here. So many numbers. Those are good numbers. We want those numbers. So now we'll do num_points, and then we'll take, so now we got, no, that's what I want. Now we got this distance here, 10. This is the number I just calculated. And we know where this is, and we know where that is. So now we got to figure out, given like a desired distance, let's say 1. If we look at these numbers, it's typically like 20 up to maybe 70. Yeah, I'd say the average is about 30 or something. So maybe 1 point every 5-10 pixels. So then we can just do math ceil, which is ceiling, which means round up to the nearest integer. We take the distance and we divide it by 5. Because we do want to make sure that we round up, because we'd rather put 1 too many than 1 too few. So that's 6, 7, 8, 10, 15 for some. I think that's fine. And then we do for j in 0 up until num points. And now there's another useful function called interpolate we can use. We can use start, we can use int, and then we give it a floating point value between 0 and 1, depending on where on. So this say that this one's start. Over here is the end. So we give it a floating point value. So 0 would be up here, and 1 would be down here. So if I give it 0.5, we'll be here. It's very useful. So then I can take j divided by num points minus 1. It's going to have to be. And now we're going to do this thing all over again. This is going to be a very, very deeply nested kind of a huge mess. But we'll be fine. So now I have to replace this variable name. And we want to draw it at position. So this, like, draw a randomly shaped polygon at a coordinate I supply. It's probably going to have to move into its own function, but this will do for the moment. And then we're going to do the begin fill thing. This is, for now, going to be very pink. Whoops. See if that works. Oh no. Strangers in the night making fun of me. This is actually kind of working. I'm just not doing the last one. Having a distance of 5 is far too close, but well, we can tweak that. So it is actually starting. So I suppose we'll do that, and instead we'll look ahead one. Make that I, and we'll make this I. Let's see if this works. This might crash. It didn't neither, because I forgot to add 1. Compiling. Here we go. So I can make that number quite a bit bigger. Let's try 10, which is twice the distance. That's too much. It looked kind of funny though. Some of them, like what's going on here? Oh, right. Num points is something that I am using already. Okay, so let's take that little thing. Make it draw poly x, y, num points, integer, and a color. It's also going to be an integer. So that's just going to be x, that's just going to be y, and maybe it's actually easier to just paste that back in and then replace it as we go. See, that's not the way I want it to be, that's not the way I want it to be. That compiles at the very least, so that's good. So we'll do draw poly. It's going to be p0x, p0y. The size is going to be 5.3. The rotation offset, I have a variable for that already. The number of points is going to be 5. And the color is going to be that. That gets rid of a bunch of code. Probably do that as well, get rid of some more. And then we'll do this again. Draw poly, pulse x, pulse y. Size, let's keep it at 5.3. Rotation offset, I don't know, we're just doing count. Let's just do that, I suppose. It worked for the other one. The number of points we want to draw, let's make that 5, and the color we want to use, let's stay at super pink. That's a pretty good improvement. I don't need that line either. So they need to be a little bit closer together. And I'm going to make them the same color as the asteroid. Should make this a settings asteroid edge decoration spacing. Where's the constant when you need them? What did I have it at before? That's not at all what I wanted. The size, that's going to be 5. 9.3, that's what it was before. This was 10. Oops. Settings, asteroid, edge. Now we can mess with these. Where are they? Here they are. So if I lower that and reset, make them super tight together. That just makes the edges look kind of like rugged or something. They need to be further apart. It looks far more like homogeneous than I thought it would. I'm also not entirely sure that they're rotating the way I'd like them to. See if that helps make it look a little bit more rugged. I'm not entirely sure this is something I want to pursue, but it's nice to try. Okay. It looks really funny. If anything, this is kind of what I want. You can totally see like this edge is repeating here, which is not good, but I think I can fix that. What are these set to? 8.27 and 10.5. And it's also spawning at least one too many on every corner, but I can fix that and just make it not go past the corner. Just that. So that should do it. Now I can't remember what the number should be. I think that was good at 10, and that just needs to be a little bit bigger. Because I want them to be as far apart as I can get away with. I suppose having some variation in the sizing of visual like things would help too, because this now grows them by a tiny little bit, but I have code for retracting and expanding the edges of the asteroid already, so I suppose we can live with it. But I don't know, it might just be busier. I'm gonna have to think about this one. I don't know if this is good or not. does look more like, I suppose, a game now, rather than some kind of like physics demo. Yeah, I don't know. I'll try multiplying these with like that's a good idea, Alex, making them the color of the sky. I'll try that. I just want to figure out the actual size once more. Because I don't want it to be because now they look like, I don't know what they look like. Look like a mess. So 8.5, 13, 8.5, 13.5. I think that one's I think it's that way around. We'll see. Yep. So Alex in the chat is suggesting that we make them the color of the sky just to see what that will look like. And I think that is an excellent idea. Draw, poly, blah, 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 color. So here it goes. Colors, background. Might look cool, might look stupid. We'll see. Looks, I don't know, looks kind of the same in a way. That looks really stupid. I'm going to show you guys a thing which is pretty cool. There's a program called GLDebugger or something. Where are you? GDebugger. This program. Pretty damn cool. We'll see if this should work on stream, but we'll that executable had a little padlock on it. I don't know what that means. We'll see. So this is going to cover all of my screen. Get rid of that. We don't need that. Minimize that. And then if we run the game, we can place it here in this conveniently shaped little hole the game made for us, or the program made for us. So this assumes your game uses OpenGL for rendering, but you can do a bunch of cool stuff with it. So you can be like, okay, let's render wireframes. So this shows me all the little wireframes it's using, and for some reason it decided that the oh right, they are actually. So let's fix that. Let's go back to color. Compile. And we can go wireframes. You can see that this is, it's not stupid amount of triangles. This text is a lot of triangles happening, in, as is the this black hole is a ton of triangles, which is like nothing, neither of which is kind of much of a big deal, but it's just something that's like useful to know. And the game looks really fucking cool when you do it this way. No! And if you, I don't know if you can see it on stream, but there's a really faint diagonal line here. And that's because there's like a giant like quad behind everything that I'm using for like the background. So I can change the color of the background easily. So when I put something in here and it flashes the entire screen, you can't really see the flash, but you can see this line go white really briefly, which is kind of cool. But I don't think we're gonna keep this edge thing. I'm not so sure about the cores yet. We'll keep them around until next week and can make a decision then. Into the pit with you. Oof. Other cool stuff you can do with this program is it has these counters that for some reason OpenFL uses a third GL context, so it's not the first GL context. So you want the frames per second, the frame times, the number of calls, the number of vertices. That's probably the more interesting stuff. And then you can see like this cool graph here that I'm using 30-something% of my CPU, but that's because I'm streaming at the same time. So this game isn't using all of that. I'm doing pretty good 60 frames per second again. Streaming, can't really trust this too much. And I'm doing 9,000 something, almost 10,000 OpenGL calls per frame and pushing 16,000 vertices, out of which this is probably like all of them. Again, neither of these things are that much of an issue. It's just something that's like useful to know. And on mobile, like 15,000 vertices per frame, probably not a super good idea. Especially since so much of it is overlapping anyway. But this thing right here, is this my code? I don't know. This could probably use some looking into. What else can you do with this thing? You can go like, okay, I want to render point clouds instead, which is also really cool looking. Jeez, that game sound. And you can, like, this game doesn't really use textures all that much, except for the text. So you can just turn off all textures. Look at those. You can pause everything, and it will run statistics on your OpenGL calls, and it will render this fantastically broken pie chart. I hadn't seen that before. And a really cool thing you can do is you can bring up this like texture inspector. So you can see like, okay, the game has like 6 textures right now, all of which are used for the font. And think OpenFL does these like on the fly in the background. So it only keeps around the actual letters I'm using. I'm not entirely sure how this works. Black voodoo magic, I suppose. But it's pretty cool. Really helpful for when you're, I mean, if you're using a ready-made engine, you really shouldn't need to worry too much about that stuff, but it's interesting nonetheless, and you can make it break on when you mess up the OpenGL calls and stuff like that. So it's pretty pretty fancy little application, and it's also free. It's pretty cool. I don't think we're going to do all that much more good today. I'm going to save the new look of the asteroids for next week, and we'll think about it some. I mean, there are upsides and downsides with having it that way. I do like the new cores. They look more interesting, but they're also a little bit more busy, I think. So maybe something different there. And for the edges of the asteroids, I do want to break them up a little bit because they are kind of boring right now. But I might do that in a different way. Since now I have all the points that make up the contour of the asteroids, I could just offset them a little bit or something to make it look a little bit more interesting, maybe. Or on the other hand, it might just be not a good idea, something I shouldn't do. But time will tell. I think that's all I got. So unless somebody has any questions before we close this out, it's going to be the end of the stream. And while I'm waiting for the time delay to catch up, I can inform you that you can see these streams on YouTube every week. I post them when I remember to. They do end up there eventually, all of them. You can follow me on Twitch like LMC1991 did, and you will get notified whenever I stream, which is on Thursdays at this time. Or, I mean, technically an hour and a half earlier than this time every week. And nobody wants to ask anything. That's a shame. Well, I'll see you guys next week, and thank you so much for hanging out. Goodbye.